We can get up in the morning, we'll do our prayers, we'll do Mangal Arti, we'll chant prayers, then we may do Tulsi Puja and so many different things and chant our japa. But at the slightest failure to apply ourselves to the bhakti process, Maya immediately comes in. One devotee had told Prabhupada once, "Oh Prabhupada, sometimes I fall in Maya." Prabhupada says, "No, you're always in Maya. Sometimes you fall into Krishna." So this is pretty much our plight, because when we think, a lot of times the devotee jargon, well, you know, the karmis are like that. But actually, what is our position? Our bhakti, what are the stages of bhakti? Can someone say? Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Nartani, Vritti, Nishta, Ruchiya, Shakti, Bhav, then Prem. If we don't come to the stage of Nishta, if we have Anishtita Bhakti, that means our bhakti breaks. Our bhakti breaks. So sometimes we're connected, sometimes we're disconnected. Sometimes we're connected, sometimes we're disconnected. But Gurudev would always tell us, look, don't be hopeless and don't be weak. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Maharaj went even further. I don't know, what is the name of the book where he wrote all the letters, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Maharaj, and he put in one letter, real strong terminology. Bhakti is not for the cowardly, the timid, or the weak. Actual bhakti is a very powerful thing. Bhakti Devi. And we'll think that, oh yes, I'm doing bhakti. We don't do bhakti. Bhakti does us. Bhakti, by the grace and mercy of Bhakti Devi, which is a manifestation of Srimati Radhika, we get the opportunity, because we have that desire to want to serve and please Shri Radha Krishna conjugal. Sri Krishna. Sri means Radha, Krishna, conjugal. So we set up that, or we fix that as a goal. But how do we get to it? Because it's here and we're here. So how do we get to it? How does that happen? Can anyone say? There's so many different ways, but can anyone think of one thing? How is it possible we can get there? Do you know?
Sadhu Sangha.
Yeah, that's the beginning. Sadhu Sangha. Without Sadhu Sangha, it's not possible. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoya Sadhu Sangha. Krishna Bhakti Janma Teno Puna Mukhya Anga. The root cause of bhakti is association of advanced devotees. When our consciousness becomes awakened, that same type of association is the most essential thing. Srila Prabhupada writes that it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 83. Tenu, that word tenu means that same type of association. So you have high class of guru, and he may enter into Nitya Lila. So by the grace and mercy of that guru, or the grace and mercy of Lord Nityananda, he gives us the association of that same type of association. So many of my God brothers and friends, they would say, oh, well, I have Prabhupada, I don't need. But anugatya is one of the most important aspects of the process of bhakti. Always under anugatya. Without anugatya, it's not an opportunity to advance.
Which means under guidance.
Under guidance. Under guidance, always. It's not like we'll get to a particular level, like you're in some kind of business and you move up and you get to the top and you become president and no one can tell you anything. Never. Gurudev would say never and never and never. It's never like that in the bhakti process, because we're very small, minute and insignificant. So we need to be up under anugatya, because without anugatya, no advancement. And I mentioned that the other day. And if any of you all want to write it down, I like to tell things that I've read and I kind of have on cap, and you can go and look it up yourself. And that's it. Actually, that was one of my favorite chapters in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22 on bhakti. Because he mentions in one purport, he says, if a devotee on the intermediate platform, this is actually chapter 22, text 71, if a devotee on the intermediate platform doesn't advance himself by associating with first-class devotees, he makes no progress. So I find myself just being in a situation where I haven't realized all of these things, but I can point people in a direction. You know, like on the highway you're driving and the sign says, okay, Alachua, you're on 75, Alachua this way. So I'm just pointing these things out. And by you taking the opportunity, because two things are necessary. I'm not giving mercy. Gurudev is giving mercy. Prabhupada, our Guru Varga is giving mercy. But mercy comes, two things are necessary. Do you know the two things that are necessary? What's your name, Dee?
Vimala.
Do you know the two things that are necessary in bhakti?
Effort and mercy.
Yeah. What is the pastime that?
You showed me two fingers, so I
Yeah.
knew exactly what to say.
What's the pastime?
That's good.
Mother Yashoda trying to
Bind Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gurudev mentions, because this process that we're undertaking, it's a very, very special thing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and other ages, this wasn't being given. Because one of the characteristics or qualities of pure devotional service is that it controls Krishna. It controls him. So do you think Krishna, especially Radhadasyam, the servants of Radharani, they control Krishna. They control Krishna. Do you think Radharani is going to allow a knucklehead to control her most beloved? Or do you think Krishna is going to allow a knucklehead to come and serve his most beloved? So it's a deep, deep process. That's why it has to be the most significant thing in our life. And I think I've been practicing this for 52 years, and still, it always seems like there's something that's just like, I'm not letting go. We're telling, oh, Maya, let me go, but we're wrapped around tight. Just like you go hug a tree. Maya, let me go, but you're holding on. Come on. So at some point, it has to register. But how will it register? By the mercy of the Vaishnavas. Gurudev, he told Shyamasundar Prabhu, I will do one operation on you. I'll do heart surgery. Helped him out like that. But we can't think that we can trick Guru. And we can't think that Guru's not here. Oh, Gurudev entered Nitya Leela. He's away from me. He doesn't know. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. You have to stay focused, and put an honest effort. Sincerity is the most important thing. And I actually have something. Does anyone have, where's the book? I wanted to go over one thing. Does anyone have this? Does anyone have this book?
I do.
There's one part here. This is one of my favorite parts.
The name of the book is called?
The Origin of Rath Yatra.
Very good. Thank you.
There's a place here. This was, when I read this I had read this so many times, but I had to. So I'm going to read some of this and we're going to have a discussion on this. It's only a couple pages, 308 to 310. So it's explanation of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is from Krishna book. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Maharaj Parikshit also explains that the pastimes and activities of Lord Krishna are medicine for the conditioned souls. If they simply hear about Krishna, they become relieved from material disease. They're addicted to material enjoyment and are accustomed to reading sex literature. But by hearing these transcendental pastimes of Krishna with the gopis, they will be relieved from material contamination. The conditioned soul should hear Ras Leela dance from an authorized spiritual master and be trained by him so that he can understand the whole situation. Thus one can be elevated to the highest standard of spiritual life. Otherwise, one will be implicated. Material lust is a kind of heart disease of the conditioned soul. It is recommended that one should hear, but not from impersonalist rascals. If one hears from the right sources with right understanding, then his situation will be different. So in Bhakti Tapa Vivek, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he mentions, misconception is our greatest enemy. We have so many misconceptions about what is Sudha Bhakti, a pure devotional service. And we're not going to go around the room. Everyone has to take their own pulse. And know, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur recommends during every Ekadasi, we should ask ourselves, just like a banker. He's trying to, did I make profit or did I lose? So we have to ask, is my bhakti increasing? Am I increasing in my bhakti? Twice a month, you get a chance to do that during Ekadasi. So we have to ask ourselves, because this is progressive, it's not stagnant. If we become stagnant, we become conditioned. And I find this, and I mentioned this the other day, where Siddhanti Maharaj mentioned that in a lecture about the man that had 2 eagles, and one wouldn't fly, the other one flew. And he went to get all kinds of veterinarians and stuff, and the eagle still wouldn't fly. So his neighbor told him, well, I can get him to fly in 10 minutes. So what he did is went and got a saw and cut the limb. Then the eagle flew. So right now, a lot of times we become complacent. Oh, I'm living nicely. It's not easygoing. Everyone's no need to be upset. But actually, we should be upset taking to the process of bhakti like a person with their hair on fire. If your hair catches on fire, what are you going to do? Where's water? You're going to freak out. So realistically, every day about our advancement in bhakti, we have to take that type of enthusiasm and sincerity to push forward. Because if we don't, no one else is going to hold hands with you at the time of death. We're all going alone. Guru will be there, Krishna will be there if we want them to be there. But if not, we have to make the necessary attempts to try to, with all our sincerity, to take to the process. Because we can't actually do anything. What does the actual soul do in contact with material nature? What do we actually do? Do we do anything? We have one function that we can do, is desire. So if we desire, yes, I want to set my aim and object. I want to obtain this Raj Ras, Shri Radha Krishna. We have to set our goal first, Gurudev says. Then we come and follow the process of how to do it. So I'm explaining a few things about, like I mentioned, attachment. Whatever we're attached to, that's what we're associating with. So you have to ask yourself in your consciousness, in your mind, what am I actually attached to? So many different things can be there. We have 5 senses, all the senses, like the picture in the Bhagavad Gita shows the horses. They're all trying to go different places. The eyes want to see, the ears want to hear, the tongue wants to taste, the nose wants to smell, the skin wants to feel. Everyone's being taken in different places. So the mind, if we can't control our minds, but how can we control our minds? What aids and assists us is association of Sudha Vaishnavas, because then it rubs off. Just like a deadly disease, if you associate with people who have deadly disease, you can catch that deadly disease. If you associate with thieves and drunkards, you'll become a thief and a drunkard. If you associate with sadhus or aspiring devotees, at least it'll push you in that direction. This is why we come together. We come together like this. Oh.
Sorry, so the people in the other rooms can hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should I start over? Again? Yeah. It's not coming out. I don't hear anything.
Okay. You hear something.
Oh, okay. Jai Shri Radha Govinda Deva Ki Jai. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Jai Shri Gurudev. Shri Sachinandana Gauda Hari Ki Jai. So, also, there's more. I wanted to read something else a little bit. Okay, did I start the buzzing? This was an important point in this book. Srila Gurudev writes this. He says, thus, as a result of hearing and chanting the narrations of the Lord's pastimes, one first attains prema for the Lord's lotus feet, and thereafter one's heart is liberated from lusty desires and all other contaminations. In other words, he becomes perfectly pure because prema is not feeble like the process of jnana and yoga. Bhakti is omnipotent and supremely independent. So sometimes people think, I will get pure and then I'll get bhakti. Is that a fact?
No.
Why not?
Not possible.
But why not? I can get pure. I can make sure my dhotis pressed perfectly, put on my tilak perfectly.
If we can get pure, we would have been.
But why is it you can't be?
Why?
Because only bhakti makes you pure. Bhakti will manifest first, and then the anarthas will go away. Gurudev says, never and never, millions of years, you can follow the process. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavi Tamati Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Labhyate Tatra Lolium Api Mulam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukritina Labhyate. Janma Koti, you can perform pious activities for millions and millions and kalpas and lives of Brahma. And bhakti will never come like that. It only comes from association of someone who has it. You can't give something that you don't have. How can you? Like some of us, we know what that means. From way back, earth, wind, and fire. You can't give what you never had. So it's important that we really strive. We have to beg for it. We have to beg our Gurudev, please Gurudev, help me. How can I get this bhakti? How can I do it? And when he becomes satisfied, when Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they become sad, they give you the association. So now we've gotten the association of high class of Vaishnavas. And that's another song. Now that we found love, what are we going to do with it? What are we going to do with it? Mukunda Prabhu has mentioned this. Who else could be so loving that they will transgress and go with you for millions and millions of births and lifetimes and kalpas? The Lord stays in your heart with you. Of all the nonsense and all the things you've ever done, he never leaves you. He's giving you, turn to me, turn to me. And he gives you inspirations. The story of Gopakumara. Gopakumara, the Lord was telling him, so many times I was trying to get you to turn to me. I was making all facilities, but you never did. So he's telling that for all of us. All of us. Come on, come on. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, he came, he's Krishna himself, but he, everyone likes a good party, so he started the Sankirtan party. Come on, come on, come on, come in. Krishna would only give according to what our pot could handle. If you had a pot, Krishna would give you that much. As they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, forget about the pot. Just come on, come on. And it just douse you. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, special mercy. And we get an opportunity. Less than 500, little more than 500 years ago, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here. So we get an opportunity to do it. But we have to have that self-examination and have that inner enthusiasm that I have to push. I have to push. If we don't, nothing's going on. Nothing. We can go through the motions for years and years and years, but if we're not enthused, if we're not inquiring about how to advance in the process, it'll never happen. So we have to perform some service. We have to surrender first. How many people can say they're fully surrendered? Let's see hands. So everyone agrees. I got everyone agreeing. They said, hey, I got work to do. So we have work to do, right? Let's get with it. Let's get with it. So we should think in terms of how to become enthused, how to take to the bhakti process, and how to understand the ins and outs of what is actual bhakti. Because a misconception is just like the example. Prabhupada, he gave one lecture. He said, associate with devotees who are engaged in Krishna bhajan 24 hours a day. But if you go associate with someone who's not that, and you become misled, he said, after you read Bhagavad Gita and you still go to that person, who can check you? Who can check you? No one. So Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Maharaj also, there's a wonderful article in one of the Rays and Harmonies. But I like to tell you all about one of my godbrothers, Purudas Prabhu, is from New York, and he passed away in 2007. And he left a wonderful site, Bhaktivedanta Memorial Library, bvmlu.org. You can write it down if you want. You can put it in your phones. This is a wonderful site. He has so many Gaudiya Vaishnavas, articles by Srila Prabhupada, Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Daita Madhava Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Balabhatirtha Maharaj, so many, Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj. And there's one article by Srila Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Maharaj, one must correctly identify a Vaishnava. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur mentions there's 4 types of living entities. Does anyone know? Can someone say what are the 4 types of living entities? Do you know that? It's 4 types of jivas. There's the ordinary jiva, there's the religious jiva, there's what is known as Vaishnav Praya, or one who's attempting to be a Vaishnava. Most of us, we fall in that category. We're trying. We're putting forth some attempt. And then there's the actual Vaishnava. So this was an article by Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur on Vaishnava Aparad. So he says if we offend the first 3, ordinary jiva, religious jiva, and one who's attempting to be a Vaishnava, this will cause some problems for our mind and body. The reaction will come. But if we offend a Vaishnava, it will check our advancement in bhakti. Cut it. And long time before we get an opportunity. So these are the 4 types of jivas. So we should try to understand the science of the quality or characteristics of a pure devotee. But how can we know who's a pure devotee? Only if they let you know. Only if they let you know. Otherwise, you'll never know. And that's part of the mercy that descends. Because when Mother Yasoda was trying to bind Krishna, well, Krishna finally, how did Krishna's mercy manifest? Because he saw how hard his mother was trying to bind him. Because she was thinking, this is my darling son, my Lala. If I don't discipline him, he'll become a rogue and a ruffian. So she was trying her hardest to bind him. And then Krishna's heart melted because he saw his mother's Vatsalya praying. It was for his pleasure she was doing it. But it doesn't seem like that. Because the mother's chastising. And there's, just when I said that, I remembered this other story. One story that Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj tells about once he was in a rickshaw, him and one of the devotees, and they saw this man. He was beating this child relentlessly. And he said he thought the boy had stole something from the store. And so he was beating him. And he got out, he told him, look, I'll pay you. Stop beating him, stop beating him. And the man was very respectful because he saw his sannyasi Vaishnavis coming. And he told him, no, this is my son. And he said, well, why are you beating him like this? He said, because I work in a factory and I work really, really hard. And my wife, his boy's mother was right next to him, and she had some different salves to put on him afterwards to help him. But he said, if I don't discipline him, he's been going and playing games, and my wife has to work to pay money to get a special tutor for him, but he's been cutting out on the classes and going playing. And if I don't discipline him now, he's going to grow up and he's going to have to work hard like I do in the factory. So sometimes parents don't like to discipline their children. There's so many different ways you can go about doing it. But if you don't discipline and you just let them go and go and go, you're building a monster. You're building a monster. I wouldn't say I was heavy-handed, because I remember things that happened to me when I was little. I never wanted to do that to my children. But Gurudev told me one thing once. He said, you know cobra? And I said, cobra? He said, yes, snake, cobra. He said, you should be like the cobra. And I was like, okay. He said, you should show the hoods, but don't strike. So a lot of times, like I'm going through this with my grandchildren now, and I try to enthuse them. You all have to get up and chant. You have to get up. Come on, wake up, get up. Well, no, get up, get up. And sometimes I have to show them the hoods. So, I like to, I think I'm a little more merciful, but at the same time, there's times because if you don't get that push, there's another article as well. I'm telling you, go to that site, BVMLU. There's some wonderful articles. One article, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he talks about initiation into spiritual life. In the very beginning, we come to spiritual life, we get that push. We feel that enthusiasm, like, wow, this is great. But then if you don't start pedaling, it reminded me when I was like 4 years old. And I remember my older sister was pushing me. I had this little fire engine, the truck. And she pushed me down the street, and it would be whee! But if I didn't start pedaling, it was gonna stop. So she would tell me, you gotta pedal, you gotta pedal. So that initial push, and if I start pedaling, it would go further. So that same thing is like with us, what we're doing. We have to do self-analysis. What do I have to do to enthuse myself? Who can I associate that's going to enthuse me and push me to keep going? Because we can't do it by ourselves. We have to have the impetus to want to do it, but without sadhu sangha, it's never going to happen. Never. Gurudev would say never and never and never and never. So we have to take to the process in a very, very calm, but serious, and be straightforward. So does anyone have any comments, any questions, anything before I go on? I don't want to just keep rattling.
I have a question.
Yes.
We touched on sadhu sangha and association.
Uh-huh.
So how do you define that? You mentioned that it's attachment, but
Because what are it's the five most important angas of bhakti. Now this is the time when I'm going to ask around the room. What are the 5 topmost angas of bhakti? No. One of them is chanting Hare Krishna. Someone else say one.
Reading Sriman Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
Residing in a holy place.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that.
2 more.
Hearing Harikatha.
Yeah. Someone.
From a Vaishnava, the list of Vaishnava.
That goes along with hearing Sriman Bhagavatam.
Oh, okay.
Living in the Dham, chanting the holy name. Just a couple more.
Serving the Vaishnava.
Seva.
Yeah. Somewhere I'm missing one as well. So,
Yeah,
but
no, it's so nice.
one of the most important things is hearing Bhagavatam with those devotees who are Swajatiya and Snigdha. Swajatiya means they have the same aim and objective that you have, but they have some affection for you. Has to be someone more advanced than you. Because how can they bring you up if it's on the same level? You can still have friendships with devotees on the same level and enthuse one another, but you have to have association with more advanced Vaishnava. They can bring you up. That's real important. Yeah.
Do you mean to have the same objective of a guru or person that is part of the discipline, the succession that is in that line?
Yeah.
That thinks that way and understands
Yeah.
that way?
Yeah. They have the same aim and objective. Radhadashyam. Some may be in Sakyaras. They can help to enthuse you, but they can't take you to the ultimate goal. Sakyaras can't give you Madhurya Ras. They don't have it. But within Madhurya Ras, all the other rasas are there. It's like the elements. Ether, air, fire, water, and earth. In each of the previous elements, they're contained. Within air, there's ether. Within fire, there's air and ether. Within water, there's air, ether, fire. But within earth, all the elements are present. So, in Madhurya Ras, all the other rasas are there. So a guru in Madhurya Ras, he can give Sakya Ras, he can give Vasarya Ras, he can give Dasya Ras. But one who's in Sakya Ras, how can he give Madhurya Ras? That's not something he does. He can point you in the right direction. So Srila Prabhupada also mentions one thing, it just, these things, this grace of Prabhupada, we should understand when we're associating with devotees. He says, there's one, this is in 4th Canto, chapter 8, I think it's text 34 or so. He says, when we meet someone more advanced than ourselves, we should be willing to serve him and hear from that person. Helps to bring us up. When we meet someone who's less fortunate, we should try to help them come up. And we meet someone who's equal, we should become friendly. But then he gave in the purport, he said, generally in the material world, when we meet someone more advanced, we become jealous and envious of them. When we meet someone who's less fortunate, we want to keep them down, push them down. When we meet someone who's equal, we always want to one-up them. He said this is the cause of all material trials and tribulations. That envy, jealousy. So we should try to enthuse and encourage one another to advance in the process. Actually, Didi, I want to mention one thing to you. It's okay. You can chant in my class. I don't care. But when bhajans are going on, Gurudev said you're getting nothing from chanting if you're not chanting the bhajans. Earlier in the bhajans. So whatever amount of rounds you chanted during the bhajans, you should redo those or do more. I don't mind. You can chant in my class. I'm a nobody. There's one prayer. My path is difficult and I'm blind. My feet are slipping again and again. But I pray to the saints for their mercy stick for my support. So I know my classes can be kind of boring, but I can't emphasize enough about the importance of not developing misconceptions or misunderstandings. There's one, most devotees have this book too as well. I just wanted to make sure I bought this one as well. Does anyone not have this?
What is that?
Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Maharaj, his life and teachings. There's one article in here called Yatamat Tatapat. Yatamat Tatapat means a lot of times people think all goals lead to the same thing. So sometimes I'll hear devotees speaking, well, what do they call it? Because I can't give any credence to it myself personally. Different steps. And everyone's going according to their adhikari. So it's one thing in Jaiva Dharma where it mentions in the 8th chapter that how do devotees deal with people of other religions? It says we're not critical of them at all. Because gradually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said at some point they'll come to the process of bhakti. But to think they're equal, we should only stay to the tenets of what is Sudha Bhakti. Because all of them are some kind of distortion of the process of Sudha Bhakti. And we shouldn't take the time. If you meet someone, you encourage them. But we can't think or have people thinking that to become liberated is equal to doing bhakti. So most people looking for salvation or for God to give them something. That's not pure bhakti. That's not Sudha Bhakti. So how can we think it's equal? The second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, these are called cheating propensities. It's like that verse, Arajo Bhagavan Vijayashas Tanayastad Dhamma Vrindavana. We're worshiping that Krishna who's the son of Nanda Maharaj. And just as he is worshipable, so is the land of Vrindavan. The method that he served by the Vrajaramanīs, the Gopis, especially Srimati Radhika, this is the topmost thing. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is the supreme evidence for this. Krishna Prem is the ultimate goal of life, and this is the conception and opinion of Mahaprabhu, and we don't care for any others, because what are those other cheating propensities? Okay, we're going around the room again. It's 4 cheating propensities. What are they? One is dharma, religiosity. So there's 3 more. Artha, yes.
Purusharthas?
Artha. Prabhupada says artha. There's unartha. Artha means what's required. And unartha means which is not required. But even artha, in reference to bhakti, it's not required like that. That particular material, artha. And then moksha.
Kama.
Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. These are cheating propensities. So people want, oh God, give us our daily bread. Give me a nice house. Give me a nice setting. I want comfort. But bhakti is not about our comfort. If you think about it, look at the different pastimes. Even though to us it may appear as though so much suffering, That's a transcendental level. Even though it appears as though the gopis were suffering, they were experiencing the highest pleasure. That's a whole nother realm. That's something totally beyond our conception. And in Jaiva Dharma, 16th chapter, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because the question was asked, well, couldn't Krishna think of a less troublesome way than to cause suffering for the jivas? And Babaji mentions, he says, look, in all the different other pastimes, Krishna, there's so much so-called suffering going on. Krishna's the controller. But it said, if it leads to pleasure in the end, how can you call it suffering? So we may seem like we're struggling, we're going through this, we're going through that. But think about it. I saw one lecture, one devotee said, think about it. What you called a great problem for you 20 years ago, is that same problem? Do you still have that pain that you felt at that time? Do you feel it right now? No, it's gone. It's gone. Let it go. Don't hold on to it. Let it go, let it go. You know, don't keep it frozen. Let it flow. Let it go and let it flow. Because this is what, these are things, I'm telling you all, these are things that go through my mind. And I hope I'm sharing it with you. And this will give you some enthusiasm, will help you to be retrospective, and you can think, wow, yeah, maybe that makes some sense. Let me look at it. It's another angle of vision to look at it. Because without it, we just come, okay, we come to the temple, let's chant, let's eat, let's go. But preaching is much more than that. I was listening to a lecture today, Prabhupada mentioned, without archan, without the worshiping the deity, everything will disappear. But if we don't have the right type of association, things will dwindle. And Prabhupada said, if you can't increase, at least maintain. Things are not, even Gurudev has apparently disappeared, but he hasn't really disappeared. So what do we have to do to keep the enthusiasm to keep going? How many of you went to festivals with Gurudev before? You went to festivals with Gurudev. It was so much energy. And devotees would always think, man, I wish this could just keep going, keep going. I can remember when I had been a devotee for a couple of years when we moved into the temple in Manhattan, 55th Street. And it was so much enthusiasm, especially when, Prabhupada's coming, when he came in 76 for Rath Yatra. There was so much enthusiasm. It was like you wouldn't go to sleep and you're just still bouncing off the wall. It was like, wow. And then you try to, how can I keep that? Just like, when you get pushed and you got to keep pedaling. So right now is our pedaling stage. We have to keep pedaling till we get another shot. It's like a junkie. We want a fix. We want a spiritual fix. How can I get enthused? And we're all looking for that. Prabhupada mentions in Nectar Devotion, every service has an attractive feature which drives the servitor progressively on and on. And the impetus is the pleasure we derive from it. If we weren't getting any satisfaction, we wouldn't be doing it. So how can we keep it going? You have to ask yourself, how can I keep it going? Why am I doing this? Because otherwise, you're wasting your time. So, you have a question or comment?
Yeah. The 5 dharma, artha, karma, and moksha.
Those are the 4, yeah.
Did I say 5 or 4?
Yeah.
Then you mentioned, and it
Prema.
kind of slipped away a little bit, was you said there's a adharma and there's a
No, artha and anartha. Anartha.
Okay.
Like anartha nivritti. That's not required.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, we think it's required. We have so many anarthas, unwanted things, because of our false ego. False ego is so subtle. It's the most subtle element. We have earth, water, fire, air, ether, then mind, intelligence. We have a real ego, but right now that's covered by false ego to make us think something that we're not. That's a upadi. Sarvopadi venir muktam yat padat vena nirmalam rishikena rishikesa sevanam bhakta uchate. This upadi. This is not the real thing. Just like an actor in a movie. You see certain actors, and actually they talked about this years ago about Marlon Brando when he did Godfather. After set was over and they were finished for the day, he stayed in character. Like he was the Godfather. He said, man, this guy's a nut. You know, they talked about it after. They said, man, this guy's a complete nut. But he wanted to stay in character. It helped him. So we're staying in character with the material nature. You know, I'm this. I'm a grandfather. I'm a mother. I'm this. I'm that. I'm black. I'm white. I'm a cat. I'm a dog. I'm a worm. All these upadis. Yeah.
Chapter Darwin has a paragraph. I mean, chapter.
I and mine.
I and mine. Is that 18 or 8? I can't remember.
Because we're thinking that we're the doers. This is the problem. We're thinking we're doing everything. The only thing we do in contact with material nature is we desire. And if our karma, we have the money in the bank, we can spend it. But why spend it on things that are temporary? This won't endure. It won't. And we keep doing it over and over and over and over again. What is that called?
Madness.
Illusion. Madness. Crazy. Doing the same thing over and over and thinking we're going to get a different result.
Yeah.
But we keep doing it.
Like that little, I don't know, rodent that keeps on that.
Oh yeah, hamster on the wheel.
Constantly.
Just you're thinking, I'm getting somewhere. I'm getting. It's like us. We try to. We go. Okay, I'm going to ride over to Hitchcock, and we get on a stationary bike. And we're sweating and everything. We ain't going nowhere. So we have to make sure our bhakti is progressive. It has to flow. If it doesn't flow, we're not going anywhere. So that's the thing that each and every individual has to take their own pulse and ask themselves, am I progressing? And this is why Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says every Ekadasi, you should do that test. You should do that test.
So, anarcha nivritti is not what's not required.
No, not anarta. Yeah, anarta nivritti. Anarta nivritti. That's different than anarta. Yeah, anarta. Anarta means it's not required.
But artha means what is required.
Yeah. So things are required for the mind, body, and the soul. Certain things. Gurudev mentions in this. This is why I said this is one of the most important books. All the books are important. But whatever you're reading at the time, that's the most important. But this is very important. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. You have to. If you don't have a copy, they have a couple copies here. You can buy it from the temple. They have it. That's the most essential one. You have to know what bhakti is. Without understanding, how can you call yourself a bhakta or a bhakti if you don't know what bhakti is? And there's so many different levels of bhakti. But you have to understand what is pure bhakti. Unbroken. So we're practicing, we're practicing, we're practicing, we're practicing. Years ago, there was one football coach, and people would say, practice makes perfect. He said, no, perfect practice makes perfect. Hi, Rodi.
Oh, hi, Bo. Okay, so I heard you say a few minutes ago that all sevas have something in them which gives the jiva pleasure.
Every service, it's in the preface of Nectar Devotion. He says, every service has a feature which drives the servitor progressively on and on. And the impetus is the pleasure we derive from it. Just like a father, he wouldn't take care of his family if he didn't derive some type of satisfaction from it. It's just like a president. If he didn't derive some type of satisfaction, he wouldn't try to lead the country. So everyone, whatever you're doing, you're deriving some type of satisfaction from it.
Well, what about the almost contradiction that some devotees will say, oh, you shouldn't do bhakti for your own pleasure, you should do it for service?
Because, just like the parts of the body, if your finger becomes independent, I'm tired, I have to wipe your behind all the time, I'm putting food in my mouth, I'm not doing it. And you cut it off and it's on the floor. What good is it? What good is it? So our attachment to serving Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas, not that we're seeking pleasure, but automatically it's going to come. You're going to get the inner satisfaction that because when Krishna's pleased, everyone's pleased. Just like when you sit down to eat, you don't take the food and rub it all in your head, rub it on your body. No, you put it in the stomach. I've mentioned this many times before, and a lot of them have heard it. You're really, really thirsty. Say you were working out or something, or you were jogging, you're just exhausted. Don't drink water. Go stand in the shower, but don't drink any water. And then come out. Is your thirst going to be quenched? No. So we can serve so many things in other people, but Krishna is like the stomach. When Krishna is satisfied, everyone becomes satisfied. So like that. So it's not that we're looking to satisfy ourselves by serving Krishna, but Krishna is our true self. Not that we're Krishna, but he's the true self. He's the self of the self. Those who have Gayatri know he is that. So by grace and by mercy, Radha Krishna, that's such a high platform for me. But I pray one day I can be qualified. Because actually there was a wonderful lecture today that they put on Bhakti Bandhav. It was an incredible lecture where Gurudev was talking about how instead of rushing in, Gurudev would have a thing like that. He said we have to be careful not to rush in to Krishna's pastimes. He said you shouldn't rush in. He was making a joke because there was some Russian devotees who were always talking about Bhav and this and that. Gurudev said, don't rush in. It's like climbing a tree. If you're not steady and you get so high and you fall and crack your head. So these are things that we should hold very high above our head and do according to our level. So I'm going to end today speaking about the 4 verses that Srila Gurudev mentioned were the foundation verses. And these are important, and you can jot them down if you want. The first verse he mentioned was Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udara Pasta Vegam, Etam Vegam, Yopishaheta Dira, Sarvam Apimam Pritibim Sasisha. That's one of, just like if you build a house, you have to have 4 foundation pillars. The second verse he mentioned was Anyabilasita Sunyam Gyana Kamadi Anavritam Anukulyena Krishna Nushilanam Bhakti Uttama. Then he mentioned Trinadapi Sunichena Tarodapi Sahishnana Amani Namana Dena Kirtaniya Sadari. Then Tate Nukampam Susamik Shamano Bujana Evatma Krita Vipakam Ridbag Vapubir Vidadam Namaste Jive Tiyo Mukti Pade Sadaipa. So Gurudev likened this last verse, he said it's like a boomerang. So sometimes things will happen to us and we say, hey, this person did that to me, that to me. No, we do all these things to ourselves. The boomerang is what's coming back around. We threw it out at some point in our existence and we forgot about it. But Krishna is actually giving us only a token punishment. We should think like that. We shouldn't think, oh, I'm suffering so bad. We should think, actually, we may cut our finger and say, oh, I got to cut, let me get a Band-Aid. But actually, we should think in terms of, actually, I deserve, maybe my whole arm should have got cut off. But Krishna is very merciful to me. And my Gurudev is very merciful. So I only got a cut on my finger. And let me go on with my service. So without those foundational verses, how can we build the house with Mahaprabhu, with Radha Krishna, Mahaprabhu? How can we do it if we don't have a strong foundation? So anyone else have any last comments or questions? I hope I didn't bore you all too much. But
You agree?
did anything I say, was it thought-provoking? Was it thought-provoking, Didi?
Yes,
Was it thought-provoking?
yes, it wasn't boring at all. It
Yeah.
was very thought-provoking.
Was it thought-provoking? Was it thought-provoking? Did it make you think? But you have to make sure that you have to try to think, okay, you know, he's talking about enthusiasm. How can I be enthused? You have to think, what can I do to enthuse myself? Shamarani would often say, you know, we say, well, I'm reading the book. But pray to Rupa Goswami, to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, to Srila Gurudev, Prabhupada, our whole Guru Varga. Help these things to come into my heart. When we're singing the bhajans, we're not actually singing the bhajans. We're praying that the realization of those bhajans will come into our heart. So a lot of times we didn't have time today. I like to read the bhajans do the bhajans and then read the English. What is the meaning of it? Gurudev told me once, I told him, Gurudev, I don't understand Sanskrit. I can't repeat it so well. He said, that's not so important. Don't worry about it. He said, you understand the conception. That's the most important thing. But it made me also think, okay, don't be lazy and don't learn any verses. You have to be able to understand something. Not just saying the verse, but understanding the import of that verse, the essence of it. Because that will help us. That will help us to enthuse us to continue. So anyone else? Any comments, Stevie? Any questions? You can say, okay, you stunk.
Just wanted to share that just for me, how you talked it just like was like Srila Gurudev took him through you.
Oh, no. Well, thanks. This is, actually Gurudev is the one, and I'm trying to the best of my ability. Sometimes I think in my mind, how am I able to come and do like this? And see, my daughter came to me the other day. She said, okay, you're going to be the guest speaker at the program. And I was like, nah, I ain't going to that. Mukunda gives a class on Sundays. I listen to Mukunda's class, And I said, nah, I'm not going to go. But then I thought, she kept saying, no, Pop, you got to do it. Yeah. And I'm thinking, Gurudev is saying, this is what your service is. Go. Don't be attached to the results in a sense. But I have to do it as a service to Gurudev. And if something came from it, then all the credit goes to Gurudev and Prabhupada. They enthused me. So thank you that I could be some instrument, just like Krishna has a buffalo horn. He rarely plays the buffalo horn, but sometimes he'll take it out and blow a buffalo horn. So I'm like the buffalo horn. It doesn't get played that much. Oh, someone else wanted to say something? Didi, you want? Sham, you want to say?
He was saying repeat what she said. He didn't hear what she said.
Oh, Didi, say it again.
I just felt like that just Srila Gurudev talked to me through. How about this side? Anyone on that side?
Oh, yeah. Anything problems? None about it. Okay?
Got Prabhu's over here.
Yeah. What was okay about it? You can tell me, man, I was bored like anything, man. Oh, yeah. But if it's thought-provoking, that's a good thing.
I have a quick, when you said that the Purusharthas, not Pancha Purusharthas, just the regular four, were cheating propensities, where did you read that? What is that written?
The cheating propensities.
Yeah, you said the Purusharthas were cheating propensities. Not the Pancha Purusharthas, because
Yeah.
the regular four.
This is in the verse, Arajo Bhagavan Rajeshes Tanayasta Dhamma Vrindavanam. You have the...
Is that like in one commentary?
Slokam Rita.
Yeah, Slokam Rita.
Look in Slokam Rita.
Yeah.
It says, these are like the four cheating propensities. It says, Mahaprabhu is not concerned for any of these. This is the conception and opinion
They're
of
like Uttama
Mahaprabhu.
Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti.
Yeah, that Krishna, he's our worshipful object. Just as he's worshipful, so is the land of
It's a
Vrindavan.
very high thing.
The method that Krishna served by the Vrajramanis or the Gopis, this is the highest form of service. And the Bhagavatam is the evidence for this. It says Krishna Prem is the ultimate goal of life. This is Mahaprabhu's conception and his opinion. And we're not concerned for any other cheating propensity. Because that second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, everyone has some type of cheating propensity.
Yeah.
God give me this, God give me that. Let's cut a deal. Give me this, and then I'll serve you. We have to come to the point where, to some degree, we're like dependent upon Krishna. Saranagati, accepting things favorable, rejecting things unfavorable, considering Krishna to be our protector and Krishna to be our maintainer, giving up everything for Krishna's satisfaction, then humility. These are the symptoms of actual surrender. If we don't do that, we're not surrendering. Prabhupada would often say, Krishna's not concerned with what you're giving, it's what you're holding back. We all have that tendency to kind of hold back a little bit. Bhakti has to be 100%, not 99.9%. 100%. 100. Krishna wants 100. Jai, Shishi Radha Govinda Deva Ki Jai.
Yes, thank you so much.
A little song charts of it.
Yeah. All the things. Sorry, Bhumipati, I think that the mic was dead the whole time.
Yashomati Nandana Brajabaranagara
Yasomati
Nandana Brajabaranagara
Yashomati Nandana Brajabaranagara
Yashomati Nandana Brajabaranagara
His divine grace, Shri Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Nityalila Vistam Vishnu Pada Aspatara Sat Shri Shrimad, His divine grace, Shri Bhakti Narayana Swami Maharaj ki jai, Jai Nityalila Vistam Vishnu Pada Aspatara Sat Shri Shrimad, His divine grace, Shri Bhakti Vamango Swami Maharaj ki jai, Jai Nityalila Vistam Vishnu Pada Aspatara Sat Shri Shrimad, His divine grace, Shri Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Jai Nityalila Vistam Vishnu Pada Aspatara Sat Shri Shrimad, His divine grace, Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Nityalila Vistam Paramahamsa Srila Shodas Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Jai Nityalila Vistam Satchidananda Saptam Goswami Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Jai Nityalila Vistam Paramahamsa Srila Shodas Babaji, Jai Nityalila Vistam Vaishnav Sarvabhuma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Shri Gauri Vedanta Chara Srila Baldev Bhushan Prabhu ki jai, Rasika Sirumani Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur ki jai, Srila Nautam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Chai ki jai, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu ki jai, Shri Damodar Rai Ramananda Shikwa Prashada Vrindi Ki Jai, Namaskar Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadara Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai, Shri Anta Dweep Mayapur Samanta Dweep Vajruma Dweep Mata Dweep Kola Dweep Richa Dweep Jala Dweep Mata Juma Dweep Rudra Dweep Patmaka Shri Navadweep Dham Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Gopa Vardhandwara Savatmaka Shri Vajmala Ki Jai, Shri Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Yamuna Ganga Tosi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Gopi Shwaramadi Ki Jai, Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai, Shri Shringa Bhagavan Ki Jai, Bhakti Maharaj Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai, Charles Sampradaya Ki Jai, Kara Maharaj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai, Shri Gauri Vedanta Samiti Ki Jai, Shri Devananda Gauri Mat Aranya Sapamat Samuk Ki Jai, Shri Keshaji Gauri Nath Ki Jai, Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Shri Iskan Ki Jai, Shri International Pure Bhakti Yoga Society Ki Jai, Shri Grantaraj Shri Mat Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Shri Grantaraj Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Mantavati Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Jai, Sankirtan Bhakti Vrindi Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari.
Well, I mean, even if he takes that, he's still breathing it in. Yeah, that's really bad. We lived in a house where we were sitting, and then we moved to this mobile home, and we were getting mold there. Now we have a brick and mortar home, no mold in the house. So yeah, it's definitely a problem in Florida, mold. Oh, that was great. Nice. Like all these like checkpoints, like boom, boom, boom. You know, like this is the standard. You know, and like this is what we aspire. And like I'm like, my heart is full of all kinds of desires. You know.
Yeah, maybe.
We have to thank you for about the
Can you send me a link to that website? Was it with the, I've seen that before, but the website, you know, at least on like the appearance days and different charts, I can read a little bit more about try to do something. Yeah. Oh, really? Oh. Hey, Mara, she looks like Sriman should be here on the 28th of April. He'll be there till the 9th if you're going to do computer. I don't know where he's Yeah, I don't know if he's, I think he's going to be in New York. I think he might be doing New York first. Yeah, he was inviting me today to go work out with him. I brought him back to Cody. He wanted to work charter, so I got to set Cody in charter for him. But, you know, I hurt my shoulder working out with him, and I kind of like the Western way of working out. I'm like, I'm not really feeling like I want to do it. It's just mostly like these kind of moves. I've been working out with Gatas, and I went to an Akata in India, and I was, you know, training with those guys. And I'm like, this is like more dynamic and the way he's moving. And I like that, you know, I mean, a little bit in the gym, but I don't really want to just sit there and do dumbbells so much. Because he's blown his shoulder out like so many times, and I'm like, this is how, if I do exactly what you're doing, I'm going to do the same thing, and I already did it once, and I'm like, been rehabilitated. I mean, he's got blessings so much to have you in his life, and
Every morning, you go among them, singing prayers, he gets up, he goes to church, he comes, sometimes he stretches, and he doing prayers and stuff. One day he sat there and chanted like a monk, so
I heard this where Prabhupada said work now, samadhi later. So maybe a time right now he's not putting it in, you know, he's got to like really be there right now to support the family, and when the time comes, he'll be able to really, yeah.
Still on?